Hello and welcome to tonight's edition of Defacto Review, a weekly roundup of the biggest stories shaping Mongolia. Here with us tonight, commentator and economist Jargal Defacto. Welcome.
Hello. Yep, thank you.
And I am Milena Mendes. And we are live on Facebook at V Television. And also, we love to hear your thoughts. So on Twitter, use hashtag Jargal_Defacto. Coming up on the show tonight. An elected official faces prosecution for alleged rape. Bank of Mongolia cuts interest rates as IMF sees larger than expected growth. Test flights take off at the new international airport. Winter Wonderland ice exhibit opens in Bayanzur. We start talking about the parliament minister who is facing allegations. Mongolia's constitutional court has weakened the legal immunities that member of parliament hold as one elected official faces accusation of rape. The court on Wednesday removed the parliament member's immunity, which will result in the prosecution of Dorjdagar Gantulga for allegations of rape from a 25-year-old woman last spring. The scandal put elected officials' immunity under the spotlight, with many concerned citizens complaining that it allowed them to live above the law. Gantulga, who is now 31 years old, represents the Khenti province and is a member of the government-ruling Mongolian People's Party. He worked in education before starting his political career. So, Jargal, please tell us, how far-reaching does this removal of immunities go? And can we say that it is opening door to further officials' prosecution?
This kind of legislation's proposal had happened before, a few times, but it was never approved by the parliament members themselves in previous times, and it may be the same case this time. Though several parliament members were in favor of accepting that restrictions by the Constitutional Court, Mr. Nyamdorj, who is also not a parliament member and also a minister of interior or the justice, he said we should accept it. Mr. Bold, only in the case if a parliament member made crimes. Another member, Mr. Timuling, said, parliament member Timuling said that, well, we should accept that because in case if they are not implementing the representative function of the people, of course, then they deserve. That's right. What he said. And now, and also this sort of issue is coming in quite contradictory conditions in Mongolia, because it turned out one parliament member, Mr. Naranghu, from Dondrobe Aymag, never happened to be in the parliament sessions at all. So question is then what is he is doing first and whom he is representing. If he is representing, why he is not there in the parliament at all. The other thing was Mr. Davasurem, also minister, he said that if the Constitutional Court makes this sort of immunity taken from the parliament member, they should also take from themselves. And he was blaming for the Constitutional Court member who was accused for large corruptions, Mr. Sor. So this kind of conflicts are happening, and the comments are coming about this in the country. But what I take from that is I would like to look at bigger picture of justice and injustice in Mongolian system, Mongolian society. This injustice is happening all around, across the power stages, institutions. That's why even it comes to even the largest, highest, the legislature's office. And injustice is happening because there is still a lot of corruptions, mostly coming corruption from because the political party financing are secretive here. Nobody is disclosing that. In that sense, organizations, political institutions, these only institutions which can take power, the political power in the country, have not yet reporting their true financial incomes and expenses, which makes these institutions like more mafia type of structure. Right. And parliament members themselves are not asking their political parties disclosure, which suggests me to think they are part of that mafia as well. So I think once this sort of mafia and this sort of functions are existing, it's very hard to fight corruption completely. And when the corruption is there, there's no fair competition. You cannot compete with the minister business, you know. And somehow it happened so that Mongolian politicians are very rich individuals, somehow compared to ordinary Mongolians. So this gives the thought, or it gives the reality that instead of demokratia or democracy, we have demokratura, which is consisting of dictator, or in the Russian, dictatura, dictatorship. So democracy, dictatura, demokratura. This particular term comes from a Czech author, scientist, who made analysis of post-communist countries' political governance, and he made that, coined that term, demokratura, because now the state administration is serving not the people, but the few closed groups of businesses.
The power ones.
Yes. So as such, the political parties are not doing that functions which is required in democracy. So I think Mongolia is not exception out from that. So that's the concern, that it was one of the attempts of ordinary people to stop that injustice in the government system.
And I think it's important for our viewers to know, what do you think was the original intent of this proposal of giving elected officials legal immunities?
Well, the idea was because they give sort of legislations which may be not liked by many criminals, for example. Maybe it can take particular persons into prison, because that they may attack that person. This sort of what's happening in many other countries. They're just people attack because they make legislations which contradicts to many criminals, this sort of people. And that's why we thought, and it was the case where they needed kind of immunity, that not everybody can jump like on ordinary people, and arrested them. But on the other side now, in particular in the society where corruption is very rampant, they are kind of above the law. They are not equal with other people. So in between these two dilemma we are fighting, and at this another time we now just offering that new legislations.
Right. And if you follow international news, you've seen that some big scandals of men abusing their power over women have broken out of Hollywood and even the US Congress. Do you think the return of this issue is anyhow related to what's going on in Mongolia?
Well, injustice is happening all around, and one of them is this sort of misusing their power. And I don't know whether directly related with this event or not, but one thing is clear, that the parliament members cannot violate the laws, and they should be now equal in front of the laws. There should not be exception, in particular, whoever is doing criminal act, they should have a penalty.
Well, thank you for your thoughts on that. And moving on to our next topic, let's talk about interest rates cut. The central bank has lowered interest rates just after the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, announced that Mongolia is outpacing growth expectations. The Bank of Mongolia lowered the policy rate by 1 point to 11% on Friday, meaning that leaders can offer cash at a cheaper cost to borrowers. The bank cited indications of recovery in 2017 for the decision, which echoes comments from the IMF. IMF resident representative Neil Saker told Reuters this week that growth proved more durable than anticipated on the back of higher than expected coal trade. He added that the banking reforms now being implemented would help bring investment to sectors other than mining, which is in line with the goal to diversify the economy away from mining only. The IMF is predicting a 3.3% GDP growth this year. Darko, do you agree with the central bank and IMF assessment that the Mongolian economy is actually growing?
Well, growing, it's a recovering from a certain point of view. in particular, because there are more money, currency comes into the coffer in the country. The dollar, two Greek dollar rate is becoming more stable.
Stable. Mm-hmm.
Which is good news. And also because a lot of money comes to the country, the government is not borrowing anymore at the expense of high rate from the domestic market or international market. So that's why the government bond rate goes down, which gives an opportunity for central bank also to decrease their policy rate to 11%. But I think it is a bit late because it could be done earlier this year. And then we would have more money coming to the economy from the commercial banks instead of having them at this rate in the central bank. In Mongolia, the policy rate is consisting of two things. One is the required reserve of banks, meaning that the whole deposits, the savings accounts balance, certain level, 13%, for example, of any balance of this account should remain in the checking account of commercial bank in the Mongol bank. Their second channel is their policy rate, which is a 1 week bond, central bank security, 1 week interest rate. So either you give the money to the economy, commercial banks, or you keep in the central bank account that money at the 11% rate, still which is high.
Right.
But in many countries it's 0.25%. In Mongolian case, it is high because inflation is aimed to be around 8%. But remember, it was just recently only 5%. So they have certain limit to decrease that policy rate. If it is too low, a lot of money comes to the economy, and it may bring inflation more, faster inflation. Because the way how economy is accepting the money and converting into businesses are quite low, quite slow. That's why it may immediately trigger inflation to grow up. So Central Bank of Mongolia is aiming to have inflation at the level of 8%. That's why they now saying at the level of 11, we will keep that interest rate. So you asked me questions about if Mongolian economy is growing.
Recovering.
I don't think so much. Conditions are getting better, but for growth of economy, you need thriving private sector who is looking for new jobs, creating competition, which is not the case. Why? Because Mongolian government is keep increasing taxes. 7 different taxes they keep increasing, and it is even supported by this IMF, surprisingly. And they said that no, it's higher income people should pay higher. But remember that when they say higher income people, we talk about 1.5 million to week salary, which is less than $600. And it's $600, and you now in the tax break that 25% of income will be taxed by the state. People are completely unhappy, and there is even women's entrepreneurs associations raising their voice, and they will demonstrate against, even they threaten that they will have a naked demonstration against the taxes. I mean, you cannot, the country is first in the big foreign debt. Mm-hmm. We are borrowing, and with a cheaper bond, we pay expensive bond. Nothing has changed, in general. And yet they are increasing the taxes, which does not help for the middle class income people to grow, to have accumulation, to have a savings. So the economy, I think, has any serious basis to grow normally.
So what would you say that could be the impact of this cutting of the interest, and what can we expect for 2018?
Well, this cutting of interest rate basically promises to give more money to the businesses than before compared to last year. So this is much better than last year, because a year before it was 15%, the policy rate. In August 2016, the policy rate was 15. Now we're decreasing now at the level of 11. So this year, I mean in 2018, the conditions of money will be better than this year and the last year. But it doesn't mean, again, due to many reasons I have described it doesn't mean that it will help a lot the economy to grow, because on the other side, government is increasing taxes.
Yeah, exactly.
So within that, I think there will not be substantial change for businesses in this country, because the specifics of the economy is the largest industry is mining, but mining is not the largest employer. The remaining are the employer, agriculture, services, where the important role, the largest driver is a human being, human power.
Right.
And yet you are taxing that human resources more than any before. So I don't think Mongolian companies will be very happy to hire more people.
Right.
Even on the contrary, from now on, they will try to decrease the salary to the level above that bracket and under the bracket, that tax bracket, and then they will find another way to compensate workers in different ways, which will be more complicated businesses in the country.
We talked about diversifying economy. So can you please help explain to our viewers what exactly is the relationship between interest rates and diversifying the economy?
Good point. Interest rate, if it is policy interest rate lower, then you will have more money, at least within the system, to the economy, right? But if that money comes to the people who are diversifying the economy, which means that other than mining, other industries are becoming more competitive, and there should be certain products that we can sell on the international market competitively. We have only, except mining commodities, we have only Kashmir wools and some small volume of meats on the international market, nothing else. So if the Mongolians say, now they are doing, say, application, IT programs, and other solutions, or blockchain programs, blockchain-based systems of database, then this is the serious export. Will they have benefit from that? Because this sort of knowledge-based economy requires knowledgeable people, knowledge workers. And you cannot pay small money to knowledge workers. If you pay higher, you cannot afford paying 1/4 of their income to the state just because they tax people. Mm-hmm. So this is the concern, and I don't think it will be helpful very much. At least the mood of people is very unhappy with the higher taxes. And, Mongolian middle-class income is different than the American middle-class income. So you should, in particular on taxing issues, you should be very careful. If you receive, say, $600 per month, it's about, what, $7,200 a year? Well, you are in the social care bracket in the U.S., for example. And the food is as expensive as in the U.S. here. So I don't think it's very smart policy by the Mongolian government and their advisors, IMF and other institutions. They should not increase tax. We pay anyway 1/4 of our salary for an employee. They pay to the state coffer, which is a lot.
Thank you for clarifying that to our viewers. And we're going to move on to the next topic, which is the Mongolian Civil Aviation Authority conducted the first test flights at the Hushik Valley International Airport that is currently under construction. Test flights were held from the 12th to the 16th of December at the airport located 52 kilometers south of Ulaanbaatar. The new facility will replace the Genghis Khan Airport located in Ulaanbaatar's Yarmak district, even taking the name Genghis Khan Airport. The airport is scheduled to open in August of this coming year, 2018. Now, Dargal, we know that the airport was delayed already 2 years from its originally scheduled 2018 commissioning date. What do you think about the progress being made in the construction of the airport?
Very strange. The airport building and airport facilities themselves were made on time, even if a couple of days before than they planned. Why? It was $600 million Japanese loan, development loan, 40%, 40 years total terms, years to pay. During 40 years you pay, and it's only 0.1% per year interest rate, which is very cheap money. And with that, they made already the airport. Airport was ready at the beginning of this year, but the road is not ready. It's because it's a highway, direct highway. It's 35 kilometers highway. We are doing it under the Chinese also loan, and 70% by Chinese companies, 30% by Mongolian companies. But the highway was running through the land which belonged to about 100 or so companies. They had a fight, they had discussions. Now finally it's ready. The roads are clean now. They will do it. They will start when in Mongolia the construction work starts in April 2018. They will start it, and I think, I have no doubt, they can complete that within the term. I think by October or November next year we will have ready the road. But we have some problem there. The airport and around land was protected or taken by the government resolutions in 2010, but somehow SOM's governor made a resolution, gave permission of all this land, 500 hectares to one private company, which is on the very strategic locations of the airport. So this court happening, every court at the three levels happened, and all they said in favor. The decision was in favor of the SOM governor. So another problem is coming. But as far as this test concerned, for any international airport, there is two major tests. One is about the landing, and the other is equipment controlling. So the last test was about the equipment. But good decisions, very important decisions, was made also this month here in Mongolia about the airport. Why? Because this airport will be managed now by Japanese and Mongolian joint venture. Japanese one is Mitsubishi, the two major airports of Tokyo, Haneda and Narita, and plus JALUX. This company is ground handling service of Japanese airlines. So highly effective, professional Japanese companies are coming, and they will be running this airport, 49% by the current Chinggis Khan Airport management. So I think this is a new standard. It's great. Finally, we have this Japanese standard, which makes close the day of Japanese airlines arriving to Mongolia. It's one of the reasons probably they are not arriving, though we have almost every day to Tokyo flights. Another funny thing is we need to privatize Mongolian Airlines, MIAT, before that. Otherwise, we will not complete. This new airport is expected to be 3 times larger than this one in terms of capacity. They're receiving 3 million people, 3 million arrivals a year. Current one is 1 million arrivals. And so even with this airport, road, everything completed, Japanese running the airport mostly, then still we need a lot of regulations to be more freed for other airlines to come to bring tourists from all over the world. That will finally open that tourism sector of the country for further and better development.
And that's actually what I was just going to ask you to share with us. What are the impacts on the Mongolian economy with the construction of the new airport? We already see that Japanese companies would come, which opens to airlines and tourism. So please share that with us.
The bottleneck of our tourism is this seasons character. In winter, in summer, but still we can, summer beautiful, everybody comes, this 3 months you don't find seats, etc., inexpensive, it not comes. But in the winter, I think still we can create so many other products, provided that many people are interested and sure that they can sell it. For example, we ski, not only around Ulaanbaatar, terrible anyway this year, but it could be in Hupsugul, for example. There can be direct flights from Japan to Hupsugul. People come fly, ski, flying and skiing in winter, and then play golf in summer. The sort of, in summer, Mongolia is ideal place for golfing. I know it in the Southeast Asia is terrible to play. Around 45 degrees, it's impossible to play. In Mongolia, this is really paradise for golf in summer. So I suggest Mongolia should have an open air policy, more airlines come, and we should also be more hub place for local short distances within our two neighbors. That's how I see the air transport development in the country.
In the country? Well, thank you. And we're moving on to our last topic of the evening. A new Town Wonderland is now open to the public at Ulaanbaatar's Bayanzur district. The exhibit featuring over 20 ice sculptures opened on the 15th of December, according to Google News. It's located just west of the Sky Hypermarket on the Selby River. And visitors will also find vendors selling warm drinks because it's very cold outside, and ice skate rentals. What can we say about this exhibit? And will we be making a visit to this?
Yes, I would love to, and it's a fun for particular children. And you know, Ulaanbaatar, one of the coldest cities in the world, capital city, and we are a member of that winter cities, cold cities associations, kind of, and they help each other to have more attractions in the winter.
During winter.
And you know, winter is also itself attractions. Back to our previous topic, it turned out 50% of the world lives in a place where there is no snow, no winter. 50% of the world. So the other 50% want to see what it's cold about, what is the snow about. Let them come and see what is the snow about. Just don't forget your warm clothes. So this is one of the nice work by our city administration. We are happy, children in particular, but be careful, it could be very cold. It's good news is that they provide warm drinks.
Right. Well, you know, speaking of winter, doctors have given health warnings. The winter vacation of elementary school is from the 29th of December to the 12th of January 2018. Pediatricians urge that during the peak hours of air pollution, especially in the morning and evening, children, elders, and people with lung diseases and cardiac problems need to refrain from staying outside. This pollution continues being an issue. What can we talk about it?
Yep. Well, this is our last show for this year. And we are very happy to being able to represent the most challenging for also issues for a week throughout this year. And we are very thankful to you for watching us and being with us, supporting us to make Mongolia, our values, democracy, human rights, free market, to be irreversible on this Mongolian soil. We thank you very much again for being with us for whole year 2017, and we would like to wish the best for you in next coming year. Thank you.
Thank you very much for staying with us tonight and during this year, and I wish you and your family happy holidays. Have a good week, Mongolia. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.